Mess, the podcast where we dive into the fascinating and sometimes messy world of generational dynamics. I'm your host, Tess Brigham. Let's start cleaning up this Gen Mess. So I'm very excited to welcome Jeffrey Klubeck to the Gen Mess with Tess. Jeffrey is a master of motivation, accountability, and leadership, helping people and businesses unlock their full potential. As a professor of communications, a business and career coach, and founder of Get a Clue Inc., he spent decades teaching professionals how to communicate effectively, lead with influence, and take action. His philosophy is motivation plus accountability equals results. So, whether it's coaching top performers, training teams, or helping people master public speaking, Jeffrey knows how to make transformation easier, or as he likes to call it, Klubrication.
Oh,
Hopefully, I said that
hey,
correctly. Hey,
wow, that's
welcome to
good.
the show.
Yeah, all right. Wow. Well, God, it's like, it's so funny. Some of these, I guess there's intros all over the internet. I mean, like that's an old one. We wrote that a while ago, Klubrication, because
Oh,
personal
uh-huh.
professional growth is hard enough. You follow?
Mm,
So we want to like lubricate, like reduce friction, make things easier, get things unstuck, right? So
yeah.
I have a lot of fun with my last name Klubeck, like get a clue and happy clue year and join my clues letter. And we help establish, when we like clean up the gen mess, like, oh, establish some clucidity about the generational gap. So I'm always playing around with my last name. I'm addicted to joviality. I picked that up in the public speaking classroom. You mentioned the professorial thing. Like I'm
Hmm.
now in my 23rd year of teaching public speaking to adult learners, getting them past the fear and helping them finish what they start and not make excuses and take responsibility for themselves and find their voices and organize their thoughts and all of that. But I
Hmm.
developed the jovial, dad jokey, stand-up comedian style in the public speaking classroom because at the general education level, people don't want to take it. They believe they're afraid of it. And you walk in and
Hmm.
you're in front of 20 something people that don't want to be there. What would you do? So,
Yeah.
getting past fear, getting on stage, delivering a talk that's hard enough. Let's have fun. Let's be cheeky. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's the clubrication thing. It's either, a really good bottle of wine or something, or, my silly jokes or, but, we just want to make things fun and easy to do the hard
Yes,
work.
yes. Lubrication. Okay. Well, tell us, you've already touched on a few of them, but
Yeah.
tell us about your journey, how you got to where you are today.
hmm Yeah, well, I started off. I came to San Diego State University from the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles, and I attended and survived 18 consecutive semesters at San Diego State. But I pulled 2 degrees and a wife out of it. Although
Wow.
my wife and I didn't get married until after I had already graduated. But I started dating my wife when I was in my second year. She was in her first year. We fell in love right away. We had our challenges growing up together, codependent. But that's a big part of my journey is like waking up every day and figuring out how to deserve her. Like I'm a
Mm,
lucky, lucky, lucky dude. As hard as marriages are, and is all the challenges and all the phases and parenting and all the stuff. I mean, like I'm a lucky dude. Okay.
mm-hmm.
And, so how do I help people? It's through soft skills. So I started teaching public speaking while I was getting my master's at San Diego State. I was a graduate teaching assistant and I got good at it. I liked it. I liked being in the classroom. I don't like grading papers, but I love teaching. I love
Mm-hmm.
professing, but I don't like grading papers. So I do a really good job in the classroom to make sure their work is so good that I don't mind grading their papers, right?
Mm,
But I got out of graduate school and I started teaching in the community college district. I was referred like, hey, this guy Jeff, and so I picked up a class or two here or there. I just was teaching for 20 consecutive years, adjunct professor in the community college, but I started earning money as a recruiter first for a couple of years. And then I got into real estate while I formed my C Corp to like, I do what I thought would be a consulting practice,
mm-hmm.
but I actually built it on coaching. I learned how to
Mm,
coach. I figured out what coaching was. And
yeah.
so I got into the world of personal professional growth when I was a young dad. My wife and I, we decided division of labor. Marianne, you want to do corporate and rise the ladder, go
Mm-hmm.
stabilize benefits, salary, cool. I'll form a C Corp and hand out 2
Yeah.
business cards and see what works. So I was always teaching. I was always Professor Klubeck at night. And then I would put on a real estate costume and hand out, like I was trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And, but I got really good at coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And because of my professorial background, my master's in communication, instead of complaining about the coaches trainings I was in, I learned what I was to be able to learn. And then I said, hey, I'm going to do my own. So I created
Yeah.
my own curriculum. Like, hey, if I was going to teach another coach how to coach, how would I teach them to coach? Not just,
Mm-hmm.
how do we motivate people? How do we hold them accountable? But how do we get people interested in our services? What's the difference between a coach and a consultant, or a coach and a mentor, or a coach and a trainer, or a coach and do people know what coaching was? Because this is back in 2007, before coaching
Yeah.
was cool.
Yeah.
Before coaching was cool. So
When they would
anyway,
ask you
so
what sport? What sport
yeah,
do
well,
you?
yeah.
Yeah.
What sport? Yeah, yeah. Well,
I
yeah.
remember that. Yeah.
So yeah, those distinctions are important. So I've since written, and I've written a couple of books. We may talk about them, but one of them is Get a Clue in 52 for Coaches, where 52 tips all about coaching, broken into 5 categories, and how to self promotion. We got to become a coach, embrace the
Mm-hmm.
identity of a coach, and start telling the world that we're a coach. But then we got to quickly stop telling the world that we're a coach, or don't just tell the world that we're a coach, or we're more than just a coach, or what I mean? You got to
Mm-hmm.
expand the menu more. I believe you need more than just coaching on the menu if you're really going to help
Mm-hmm.
somebody. So
Mm-hmm.
now I don't call myself a coach. I say I'm a soft skills guy.
Mm-hmm.
And coaching, consulting, training, or speaking is how I deliver soft skills for strong leaders, etc. But in the coaching relationship, yeah, you mentioned in the outset, motivation plus accountability equals results. So we're talking about strategies, tactics, resources to get people motivated to take action, or
Mm-hmm.
behavioral intervention. You know more about this than I do, like getting people out of their own way, going
Mm-hmm.
in, peeling the layers of the onion, finding the limiting beliefs, reframing, and replace with empowering alternatives, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
detect patterns and vibrations and emotional addiction, and try to get in there and create some transformation. But then, if you know who people are and you know what they want, and you've given them strategies, tactics, and resources, and gotten them out of their own way, then the only thing left to do is hold them accountable. And that's another big challenge in the space, is
Mm-hmm.
how do you deliver accountability in a non-threatening way? How do you get people engaged and receptive to a confrontation of
Yeah.
accountability? So that's a little bit of a nutshell. I mean,
Okay.
my
Yeah.
journey is
I know, I know. It's a
it's a
broad
lot.
term.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
a lot. But I want people to talk about what they want to talk about. So I don't want to label it and say, well, to just tell me about the last couple of
No,
years.
it was so
So
open ended. It was great. Yeah.
so communication. I want to talk about
Hmm.
this because right, we see and we know this that social media, text messaging, all of that kind of stuff, it dominates the way young people communicate. It dominates the way we all communicate now, but it
Yeah.
really dominates the way young people communicate. So since or I feel like you want to say something. Am I wrong?
No, I want to listen. I'm breathing here. I'm breathing because I want to get it all out, Tess. I want to hear the whole question, and then I'll go.
Okay. So I the one of the big things is that people are talking about how Gen Z struggles with communication, and they struggle with communication, across the board, especially in the workplace. And I'm very curious, based on partially because of being a professor, but just this is what you do, communication. What do you see? Do you think this is a problem for companies?
Yeah, well, I try to be a little bit disruptive. I try to be a little bit of a thought leader, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I get really excited when I come at an oft asked question from a different
Okay. Uh-huh.
place, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to try that here. So this is not, to be taken personally offensive, right? But
Okay.
right, here's the what I've learned very recently, by the way. This has nothing to do with like the 30 years of master's
Mm-hmm.
degree. No. This is more recently from being a parent and wrestling with my daughter, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's so easy for us. I'm 52 years old. I'm about to be 53. I know things, right? I know more
Mm-hmm.
than the younger generation. I have the benefit of wisdom and experience, and I've got blood, sweat, and tears, and I've earned all these mistakes I've made. And like, I can see what they can't see yet. And I remember
Mm-hmm.
how dumb and naive I was back then, on and on and on. But when I was 18 years old, I could see what the 11-year-olds couldn't see, right?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so that's seductive. It's easy to fall into, they have a problem. Like you said it in your intro, and I've got to shine a light on it. You didn't say anything wrong, but I want to intervene right there.
Mm-hmm.
And remember when you said, "Oh, you wanted to say," you sounds like you want to say something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like, "Oh, the younger generation really has a problem with it." Well, that's where I want to disagree.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they do, but let's. What if we really have? What if my wife really has a bigger problem than Gen Z? Because my wife's supposed to know better, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if my son has to ask my wife, a question 3 times,
Mm-hmm.
and my wife's got her head down, what if my
Mm-hmm.
wife and I both have our head down, and the kid's talking, and I'm in la la land on my phone,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm thinking, oh well, I hear noise. Marianne's going to get that right, and Marianne's in her phone, and now our kid is trying to get our attention, because he's heard the parenting that we've tried to offer, and now he's proactively trying to get our attention. But right. So in other words, who has more of a problem with it? The people that are
Yeah.
growing up with it, or the
Mm-hmm.
people that didn't, that are now distracted? Like, we should know better.
Yeah.
I want to put that on the right. The older Gen X, we should know better. We need to
Mm-hmm.
get off our damn phones,
Yeah.
and we need to be more available and pay more attention to the younger generations that are stuck on their phones. Now, to be a little bit jovial, Tess, I think that across the board, doesn't matter what generation we are. I think as a species, I
Mm-hmm.
think that we are going to grow a third eyeball out of our forehead
Yeah.
so that we can all defend ourselves while we're all on our phones.
Yeah.
Right? Evolution. Right? So I just want to say, who really has the problem? Now, back to I think a more conventional answer that your question provokes is, we have to get off of our, I don't know, we don't understand what they're going through. We
Yeah.
only understand what we're going through.
Yeah.
So I don't want to tell them that they have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to tell them that they don't understand. I don't want to tell them that they're wasting away, because I don't know what it's like to walk in their shoes. I know what it's like to hold a phone, but I know what it's like to hold a phone, and I know what it's like to know better than all the phone holding I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? I want my kids to get off the phone, but I know when I'm driving and I pick up my phone and Dad, oh no, I'll be all right. I'm okay because I'm an experienced driver. No, Dad,
Mm-hmm.
you're doing what you won't expect them not to do. So they're modeling our behavior. They're just being kids, just like we were with the Atari and the
Oh
video
yeah.
games came around, right? So I think that there's a relativity that we have to embrace, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's hey, the kids are all right,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not so distracted by how really hard it is for them that I'm not 100% believing at all times that they are genius, brilliant, resilient. They are battling through things that we never imagined. They went through COVID,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
they don't know. They can't imagine a phone attached to a wall. They don't know what a payphone is,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so who's got the real problem, right? Who's having the real challenge? Us for expecting
Mm-hmm.
them to know and behave the way we do, or us for not being wise enough to ask them what they're going through and really empathize with what they're going through and really open our minds to what it must be like in the digital era,
Mm-hmm.
and to have some empathy for the mental health challenges, and have some empathy for the attention span shrinking, and have some empathy for the lingo, and have some empathy for we can't understand why our children wouldn't come to us if they have a problem. Like, are you kidding? They don't trust us. They don't respect us. Like, they love us because we're mom and dad, but we're also the generation that's ruining the world. So why would they talk to us? They're going to talk to
Mm-hmm.
each other. They're going to talk to each other. Right. So what I do is I take a place of humility. I failed on the high horse. Everybody said, Abigail, I'm the dad. You're the daughter. You're 16. You don't know what you're talking about. How far do you think that got me?
Mm-hmm. Not very far. No.
Right, but when I said, Abigail, I'm working on a book and I want you to help me because your perspective is invaluable to me.
Mm-hmm.
She said, what? I said, yeah. Back to my name, right? I said,
Mm-hmm.
I've written all these motivational quotes, originally authored. I've got over 100 of them. I need to get it down to 52 so I can come up with my next Get a Clue in 52 book, but I'm calling this one Kluebie Snacks. She's
Mm-hmm.
like, Kluebie Snacks, those are mom's cookies. I said, yeah, originally Kluebie Snacks are mom's cookies, but my motivational quotes, it's either or, right? I wanted
Mm-hmm.
Kluebie Snacks too. And so I'm like, hey, Kluebie Snacks are more LinkedIn-y, more TikTok-y than they are LinkedIn-y.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, yeah. And so I made sure I was sitting down. I made sure she was standing up so that non-verbally and physically I was in an inferior posture. I
Mm-hmm.
made sure I was looking up at her, and I made sure I was asking her for help while validating her perspective, admitting that she knew things and had perspectives that I didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I got
Yeah.
the co-author for my book. And that's when not only did she help me get it down to 52, but she wrote journal style responses to 48 of them. We had fun brainstorming the 4 baker's dozens, that
Mm-hmm.
13 times 4 equals 52. And now every Sunday night I go online with my daughter and I read the quote and she reads her response. And then we facilitate conversation if anybody else joins us. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm having a lot more fun figuring out what her generation is up to with her as a co-author and putting her at equal status and shining a light on
Mm-hmm.
her and putting a pedestal and even consciously taking an inferior posture and week by week admitting that I don't know what she's going through and I can't wait to learn from her every week. Now I've
Mm-hmm.
got her listening in a way that I never had it before.
Yeah. No,
So
and
I
you're
think,
bringing up, sorry.
no, you go ahead.
No,
I've
no,
said plenty.
no. No, you're bringing up a lot of really good points about, one about parenting and parenting
Yeah.
young adults as they're, I mean, all children really. This is kind of a lot of the things that you're talking about across the board, but I think that it's very easy for parents to fall into that headspace of, I know better, I know how things are. And listen, we all do. I do it. I've had those moments where things come out of your mouth and you're like, oh my God, I just said that.
Yeah.
And and so you're absolutely right that at the core, what you have to do, like, I would say, you can tell me I'm wrong, but effective communication at its core is about coming in curious and open and being empathetic and trying to understand where that person's coming from. And to me, it feels like, I would assume, right, you can take this and put that into anything. When you talk about the stuff with your daughter, I'm thinking about a new manager and their direct reports. How do you manage? What does that look like? And I think that
Mm-hmm.
it is changing. There is a more of an appreciation today of soft skills, but I still think that we get very stuck in that place of authority. And one person has to be the authoritarian that is doing everything, and that steering the ship, and everyone's got to fall in line and never question anything.
Yeah.
And the problem is that, as if that was an effective way to lead 300-400 years ago. Like, you know what I mean? My guess is that people have been rebelling against right, the authority since the beginning of time.
Well, a couple of things there. First of all, the curiosity and the empathy that you mentioned, in and of
Hmm.
themselves, they are not effective communication, but they are the paths. They are the
Okay.
road, right? Being curious and having empathy are the road. But the status of effective communication is shared meaning.
Mm.
Is
Okay.
when the participants in the interaction agree on the meaning of the symbols that they're interacting through, because communication is
Hmm.
just interaction through messages,
Hmm.
symbols that they're encoded and they're decoded, right?
Hmm.
So effective communication is when the participants agree on the meaning of the symbols, and miscommunication is when somebody says something means one thing, it's decoded and it goes all over the place. And so, like, there's my latest Kluebie snack that I wrote is, if it's ever lost in translation, I'll bet it can be found in bias. Okay.
No, it's good. I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's the first time I publicly tested this brand new Kluebie snack.
No, but
But
yeah.
yeah. So then the other thing that you were talking about is, yeah, anything that feels pressed upon is going to automatically press back. So this
Hmm.
leadership through authority has always been resisted
Hmm.
forever, right? And authority has methods of enforcement that, right? So it's a shame. So I don't believe in that, right? When I'm teaching leadership on any level, it's lead through love, lead through vulnerability, lead through soft skills, right? Soft skills for strong
Hmm.
leaders, right? But we have to be willing to be vulnerable. So, authority, appeal to authority, leading with authority is seductive because it's easy.
Hmm. Yeah, it is very easy.
Right? So, like, now, if you said to the leader, "Hey, leader, do you really want to understand Gen Z, or what Gen are we on? Gen Alpha or
We're
Gen
Gen
what?"
Z. your
Yeah,
your daughter is Gen Z. Yeah.
yeah, Gen Z. Okay. So, hey, if I really want to, do you really want to understand Gen Z? Yes. How bad on a scale of 1 to 10? Well, 10 out of 10. Okay. Well, how hard are you willing to work if you want it that bad? Oh, well, no, I'll just say I'm the boss and then I'll understand, right? No.
Hmm.
Get off the authority and put yourself in an inferior posture, and create a way to invite them into the conversation rather than telling them about the conversation that they need to sit still and listen to,
Hmm.
right? And most leaders, I mean, if we equate leadership to parenting, in my
Hmm.
book, a healthy
Yes.
parent, in my book, even though it's challenging at times, I remember when the first time my son beat me at something, right? It sucks, that sucks, but it doesn't suck because you lost. To your child, it sucks because it's just a sign that you're getting old, right?
Mm-hmm.
The victory, like most healthy parents want their kids to outgrow them, want their kids to do better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take
Yeah.
everything I got and go do better, right? And if a leader doesn't want the same, then they're not the best leader, right? And so now, right, if I'm just going to appeal to authority and substitute that for the effort to be curious and empathize with where you're at, where you're coming from, what you bring to the table that I can learn from, just because I'm the leader doesn't mean I can't learn from you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Yeah. So you've been teaching for a while, so you have seen many kids come through, right, over a
yeah,
period of time.
thousands.
What thousand? Okay, so what
Not
do
just
you?
not just kids, adults too. In the community college district, the age ranges were crazy. Here at San Diego State, where I teach now,
Uh
it's more
huh.
homogenous in the public speaking class. They're
Okay,
all about 18, 19. But
got it.
anyway, but go ahead, thousands of
But
learners.
I'm
Yeah.
curious about over your time of doing this. What do you see with communication? Is there a big difference between how people communicate now? Or are you like, no, it's all this, it's all the same as it ever
Um,
was?
yeah, you know what? Both. As much change as there are things that stay the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
One glaring, one glaring, back to your earlier comment, like it's like just because I've got a mature response to like how do you deal with Gen Z doesn't mean I don't get frustrated. Here's the thing. When I'm walking from my office to the class, or I'm walking from this class to this class, they're going up and down stairs on their phone. They are walking on their
Mm-hmm.
phones. Like, put the phone in your pocket, pick your head up, breathe fresh air, look around. Like, I'm at San Diego State. This is Southern California, and the sun is out. There's
Yeah.
beautiful people and sights all around. Like, people watch, understand what people are doing. Lift your head up. You can breathe college campus air, and people are
Mm-hmm.
walking around, and it's just, sometimes I'll tell people, don't text and walk. Like
Mm-hmm.
my office door right here. Sometimes if I'm in a hurry and I got to jump into my office, like I could smack somebody in the face because they're down in there, right? So I
Yeah.
have to tell you that people can't just walk from A to B without being on their phones, and the attention span has gone down
Mm-hmm.
considerably. There's a high. I'm shocked when it's like I see the work and it's like, but they were in class.
Mm-hmm.
It's like normally the work, if there's problems with the work, it's because they missed class, they missed instructions. But I'm like, but
Mm-hmm.
this person's been to class every day. And I know I talked about this 3 times. So
Mm-hmm.
so they're showing up, but their minds are elsewhere. They're showing up,
Yeah.
but they can't. And sometimes like they're sitting in class like with headphones on their phone. So their body is in the classroom, but they're not paying attention. They can't get off their phones. Like
Mm-hmm.
I actually asked somebody the other day, he was sitting in class and he was sending a text message, and it's like, this is normal to this generation. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's just like, so very clearly, like it's like if your thumbs are moving, you are listening to what you're saying in your head and you're constructing words or symbols, right? So I'll just
Mm-hmm.
ask, hey student, are you taking notes with your thumbs into your phone? No, I was sending a message to so and so. And I'm like, tell them you're in class right now and that you'll respond to them in 36 minutes. Like, the world
Mm-hmm.
is not going to blow up
Mm-hmm.
if you check your message. Like, people don't understand what they're doing right now. But here's the thing. As soon as I say that, it's so pronounced, it's so heavy, right? I can see it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, things have never changed. These are the same words from Yoda to Luke Skywalker when he was training on Dagobah. Like,
Mm-hmm.
always mind elsewhere. Never, like I forget what Yoda said, but never focused
Yeah.
on what he's doing, and never be present right here, right now. And
Mm-hmm.
so we're all falling victim to it, though. Like family
Yeah.
time, we try to like no cell phones at the dinner table, but guess what, you know what I mean? And people are splintered and on their phones. And the other day, my son, I walk out and he's like, good for him. At least he's making himself breakfast, but he's on the phone and he slams he's looking at the phone. He slams the microwave door shut. I'm like, Brody, slow down. First of all, can you pay attention and close the door rather than slamming it? We just got a new microwave a couple weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
and look at the scarring and look at the marks that you're making. You don't even see what you're doing because you're on your phone. And so
Mm-hmm.
this is a problem. We see the accidents in the cell phones. We see the weird drivers on the road, and it's just our attentions are just constantly interrupted, constantly interrupted, constantly interrupted, and bombarded. But it's not just Gen Z; it's all of us,
Yeah.
in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Oh yeah, no, it's absolutely across the board, and you're bringing up a really good point around when you're talking about Star Wars. This idea of what does it mean to be young? Like what are the things? And part of being young is exactly what you're talking about. It is the fears and worries of the future because your whole life is ahead of you. I wrote this article for CNBC a couple years ago about turning 50, and sort of like I wasn't thrilled to turn 50, but once I did, I was okay. And they were asking these questions of like, what are some of the things about being 50 that you appreciate? And one of the big things is that I realize like I don't have as much anxiety about the future because a lot of my future has happened. And also things I got married, I had a child, I built a career, like I did all these things. So there's something in that nature of being being young and just what am I going to do here? What am I going to do there? What's this going to look like? What that's going to look like? But it
Hmm.
sounds like across the board, especially for organizations, that everybody needs to that everybody it's a generationless issue or problem, that everybody needs to work on their attention skills. Everybody needs
Yes.
to work on getting their head up and looking. And I can imagine just in basic communication and skills, looking at someone is probably right number one.
Yeah. 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 But that's
Yeah.
always been a thing. But now it's like, hey, I'm right here. Look at me. Like and seek the eye
Hmm.
contact, and people will talk, but they'll look away. But people have always done that. But like, again, some of the things stay the same. There's still different. There's still four different behavioral styles. The D, the I, the S, the C.
Hmm.
There's still basic emotions that people are trying to. The Maslow's hierarchy hasn't changed.
Yes.
You
Yep.
you know you follow.
Hmm.
So the needs and the drivers of our inner psychology and the emotions that we're trying to fulfill, like the basics are there. There's differences in behavioral style. There's introverts, there's extroverts. There's slow and steady. There's fast paced. There's analyticals. There's persuader promoters. That hasn't changed, right?
Hmm.
And we want to feel certain, and we want to feel significant. We want to feel connected. We want to feel we're growing, and we want to feel entertained, and we want to feel that we're giving back. That hasn't changed,
Yep.
right? What's changed is the amount of the rapid fire, right? It used to be sit in front of the TV. That was bad enough, right? But now
Hmm.
pop, 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 pop. It's like there's Messenger and there's WhatsApp and there's the text message app and then
Yeah.
there's the email. Like there's like four to nine different channels that are coming at us for messaging.
Hmm.
So like the fact it's heavy, right? But the other thing that I wanted to communicate is another thing that hasn't changed, but it's just accelerated in a new thing, the sense of entitlement.
Mm.
Every generation has complained about the sense of entitlement that the
Yes.
younger generations have, right?
Yes.
So that
Yes.
hasn't changed. But what has changed is how many images are in the minds of the young people because of social media. So, we see it. People want to skip to the line. People want the end result.
Hmm.
People want this end result that they see all these influencers having, right?
Yeah.
And they want to skip to the line. But guess what? I say that like, oh, you're entitled. No, my daughter's not. She went on a TikTok, figured out how to get the followers, got the followers, and now there's every day there's thousands of dollars worth of not that, whatever, hundreds of dollars worth of free product being
Hmm.
shipped to our home. And Abigail's supposed to take a video opening up the package and then trying on the shirt or the jacket or the
Hmm.
blouse or the makeup or the whatever. And then she goes on Facebook and does her makeup and people give her money all over it's weird. I don't
Yeah.
understand it, but just because I don't understand it doesn't mean I criticize it. But then it's like, is that entitlement, or did she work to figure out how to do it and earn a place where
Hmm.
that's the way the world is, right? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I'm
No,
trying to get, yeah, I don't
yeah.
know how to explain, but I'm trying to create some levity and some, I'd just rather lead with, I don't understand, please explain it to me,
Hmm.
than that
Then,
authoritarian or that I know it all thing that we were talking about
yeah.
before.
Well, the entitlement thing, it's really interesting because that was the big criticism of millennials. And that's what they said about us Gen Xers, that we were, slackers. So yes, that has been a across the board complaint about young people. I think, and I absolutely agree with you. And I saw this with my millennial clients, which was this. When I was young, right? What the media was very different because like maybe you might go get a magazine and you would look at supermodels or actors, maybe you'd see somebody on a TV show, but it wasn't attached to our hands all the time. So when I wasn't looking at a magazine or watching TV and I was just hanging out, like going to a bar or a club with my friends on whatever night, like I was surrounded by other people that were my age and were broke and drove crappy cars, and right, everybody was sort of in the same situation. So yeah, you would have to, maybe there were these celebrities that you didn't know that had these things, that had the brand new car and the, all of those things. But when I looked around, it was like, oh, we're all struggling. And so what I found with my millennial clients that were coming to me is they were all feeling like they had missed the boat or missed some sort of memo because they were not super successful by the
Yeah.
time they were 25. And you see a lot of that up here in the tech world in the Bay Area, of people making it big at very young age. But it is hard to have some understanding of what it means to build a career and build a life, when you are that young and when you are looking around and seeing, well, this person's, that seems so great. They're just trying on clothes in front of a thing. Okay, great. That's what I want. And yeah, when you're young, you're impatient. There's a lot of I'm impatient
Yeah.
now, but I mean, there's a lot of impatience of what that is. And I think the other part of it too is young people don't know what they don't know. I think we all, when we were young, thought that I thought building a career would be like, no problem. I can do this. Little did I know it would be a 30 plus year journey or whatever you want to call it. Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's a great story about I'm going to be paraphrase and summarize it horribly, but like Picasso is in a coffee shop, like
mm-hmm.
doodling on the
Yeah.
napkin, and after 5 minutes, the guy, I think that's Picasso, and Picasso's about to get up and go, and he's just about to like grab the napkin with that hand where he's going to crunch up the napkin and
Mm-hmm.
throw it away, and the guy like, no, 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 wait, I'll give you $50 for that napkin. Picasso says, no, you're going to give me 50,000 for this napkin. He's like, no, you were just about to throw it away. It only took you 5 minutes. You were
Mm-hmm.
Picasso says, it took me my whole career to be able to put what I
Yes.
put on this napkin. So you're not paying me
Yeah.
for the 5 minutes, you're paying me for everything. So and then it's the fun. It takes 30 years to be an overnight success. And,
Yeah, absolutely. And
you,
that's the part that's hard, right? Is to really
mhm.
be able to tell people, like, how do you say to someone 22, 23, this is what your career, this is actually what your career is going to look like.
Well, I
Um,
think that you focus on the habits. I think you focus
mhm,
on, hey, you can, you could fall into the butter and get really successful with an IPO, goes public and blah, blah, and the stock and the double and
mhm,
the splits, and that you could, but are you a good person?
mm,
Do you brush your teeth twice a day? Do you open
mhm,
doors for people? Do you wake up even when you don't want to? Do you show up even when you don't have to? Do you
mhm,
know what the extra mile is? Can you look yourself in the mirror? Do people speak kindly of you when you're not around? Do people defend you when you're not around? Like, what are the habits? Like, whether you're winning or losing, because we're going to experience both in this lifetime,
mhm,
right? And so that's why we come to the integrity game. To me, the integrity game is another book that I wrote. It puts my 10-point model for soft skill, right? Soft skills. I deliver soft
mhm,
skills through the 10 point. It's a framework, but it's a 10-point model. And it's like, if we have answers to these 10 sets of questions, now we're going to be resilient. We're going to be empowered, come loss or win. We're still going to have resilience. We're not going to get overwrought by the wins, because you see that when people win. Like, there's some people born on third base. And they thought
mhm, mhm. Yeah,
they hit a triple,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
it's at some point, if you never learn what hard work is, if you never learn what sacrifice is, if you never learn about defeat and picking yourself up and dusting yourself off, that's one of the big challenges of being a parent, because we're instinctually wired to protect our kids from everything. But if we never let them experience pain or struggle, we're not really
mhm,
protecting them from anything.
mhm,
So that's one of the dynamics of being difficulties of being a leader, and giving people enough rope to hang themselves. What mistakes are reparable versus irreparable, and how to there's challenges there, but we learn more from our losses than from our wins. But young people, I think, like, we blame it on the generation, but it comes down to the parenting. Who
mhm,
among us are willing to let our kids struggle? Who among
mm,
us are willing to say no to our kids? Who among us are willing to build the habits in our kids that will have them resilient to the failures they need to experience to actualize. So, I mean, these are some of the questions that I have. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
with so much respect to your background, I mean, a big influence on my thinking about parenting and love and discipline and traditional values is M. Scott Peck and The Road Less Traveled, and
Mm-hmm.
discipline and love and grace and surrender and willingness to be vulnerable and commitment to reality. And these are some of the things I try to communicate with my kids. And but yeah, I think it is a little different. I think I expected to have to work hard, and I expected it to be difficult. I did have anxiety, like you talked about, not knowing
Mm-hmm.
who I was going to marry or what the
Yeah.
career was going to be or what I was going to do in school. I think that today's generation, I might have to give a nod to that when they might have just as much uncertainty or anxiety if they don't see the path to what they want, but what they feel they're supposed to want is just in their face all the time on all these
Yes. Yes.
comparisonitis. I think
Yes.
because now, like before, we'd go get the magazine. I would
Yeah.
go and get the magazine if I wanted to read the magazine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or Sports Illustrated showed up to the home once a week,
Mm-hmm.
and it was in the pile of the other mail. So if I
Mm-hmm.
really wanted to watch it, I had to go and get it, right? But now I can't check my email without being bombarded with,
Yes.
I can't. There's nothing that I'd want to do productive on my phone that doesn't make me vulnerable to the bombardment,
Yes.
the interruptive, the proactive. And now I'm canceling and dismissing and swiping all and ding 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 pop when I'm
Yeah.
trying to focus. And there's a saying, focus is more important than intelligence. So I think that that's my question for all generations. But if I match your pace and say especially Gen Z, tell me what you're doing to improve your focus. What are you
Mm.
focused on? Let's talk about what gets you focused, keeps you focused. How what are some strategies you have to stay focused on what you really want rather than distracted by what everybody else wants? And
Mm-hmm.
so,
That's
I
a
get it.
really, yes, good way of saying it. That is absolutely, I absolutely agree with you. The world that we live in today, that what is the greatest economy? It's attention. It's
Hmm.
attention and focus. It's other people's attention on you so that you can grow or build or do, whatever that is. But it's also the focus of just being able to focus and sitting with doing one thing at a time, because these phones have really allowed us to do many many different things at the same time all the
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
and that's
There's a
what gets
belief.
me into trouble.
Well,
Absolutely.
there's a belief out there that, I mean, there's mathematical logic to it. Is that we're really only ever doing one thing at a time.
Mm, mm,
But believing we are or can do multiple things at a time, we're it's diluted. We're really not
yes.
doing the thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're getting by through the thing, but we're not doing it like, hey, I'm gonna do this.
Hmm.
Just
Yeah.
do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, to our capability, to our potential, to the way it deserves. I've like pretended I'm giving my kids attention when I'm doing a fantasy football draft in the background.
Hmm.
Fisheye or over the shoulder. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm convincing. No, like when you get, 100% undivided attention is a
Yeah.
rare commodity.
Well, thank
Ooh.
you. Oh, whoa, you fell.
Yeah,
Thank you
I was
so.
trying to lean back the other way. And I was like,
Thank you
whoa.
so much for joining me. So tell everybody where they can find you. You've mentioned your books and some other things, but tell us where they
Yeah.
can find these books and all your good
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. If you look up Jeff or Jeffrey Klubeck on Amazon, you'll see my books. Like there's the Get a Clue in 52 series. I've done, Get a Clue in
Okay.
52 for coaches, Get a Clue in 52 for entrepreneurs, the original Get a Clue in 52. I did the speakers edition. And then, the most recent one isn't Get a Clue in 52. It's Kluebie Snacks. It's all the motivational quotes with my daughter and I. But the other book, The Parable that introduces the 10-point model, it's called The Integrity Game. And so I can also be found, we're developing a lot on the website, but if you go to theintegritygame.com, that's where people can get freebies or sign up for 2 complimentary coaching sessions or join our membership site and get free copies of our books, right? Free PDF copies. And we put a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of freebies in there to try to get engagement on the website. But just to get to me directly, and especially if they mention you, Tess, or this podcast, just find me on LinkedIn and send me a direct message and say, hey, I heard you with Tess. and then I'll have a
Okay.
context like things are growing, but I still respond to all my direct messaging on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is a really robust resource for professional contacts
Yeah.
and business and networking, and it is what it does what it says it will. It links us in, and in a professional way. It is getting a little, it's different than it was when it started, but it's still a very, very professional platform, and that's an
Yes.
easy way to find me.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for tuning in to the Gen Mess with Tess. Remember, we're fixing the Gen Mess one conversation at a time. Until next time, stay curious and don't let the Gen Mess mess with